Hey there, and welcome to this deep dive. It's all curated just for you, and we know you're fascinated by Copenhagen. So today we're going to explore a side of it that, most tourists don't see, the world of prime office real estate.
Yeah, we're going to go beyond the pretty buildings and really dig into what a prestigious business address actually means in Copenhagen.
And the source for our deep dive today is this fascinating article from a Danish magazine. And it takes us right into the heart of Copenhagen's city district, where even, small startups are willing to pay big bucks for the right address.
Makes you wonder, what's so special about these locations? I mean, is it all just about a fancy facade?
Well, the article suggests it goes way deeper than that.
Okay.
It's about the image a company projects, the connections they can make, and even their ability to attract top talent.
Interesting, because it kind of makes you think about prestige. Like, it's more than just the physical space. What we're talking about is a whole ecosystem of factors that contribute to a company's perceived value and, influence within Copenhagen's business scene.
Okay, so let's unpack this prestige thing a little bit.
Yep.
The article really emphasizes that having an address in the city district is like a shortcut to credibility. Why do you think that area is so special in Copenhagen?
Well, the city district is really the historic core of the city. I mean, many of these buildings have been around for centuries, and they've really witnessed like the evolution of Copenhagen's commerce firsthand. And some were even once home to, prominent merchants or even royalty. So there's a definite sense of legacy baked into these locations. So it's almost like occupying a piece of history gives businesses instant clout.
Yeah, in a way, it taps into this idea of like a long-standing tradition of, success and influence. But it's also about practicality. Being in the city district puts companies closer to, government institutions, financial hubs, and major transportation hubs. So it's as much a strategic location as it is a symbolic one.
I see. So it's a blend of historical significance and modern-day practicality.
Mm-hmm.
But this prestige comes at a cost, right?
Yeah.
The article mentions some pretty astronomical rents.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking annual rents per square meter. That would make your eyes water. I mean, to give you some perspective, these figures are comparable to or even exceed what you'd see in cities like London or Paris.
Wow, that's a serious investment. Makes you wonder what kind of return on investment these companies are expecting. But I guess if a prestigious address can open doors and, attract top talent, maybe it's worth the price tag.
Well, that's the gamble that these companies are making. And it's interesting to think about how this high cost of entry might shape the competitive landscape. Does it favor larger, more established companies? Or can smaller startups find a way to break into this kind of exclusive club?
Well, the article does highlight some smaller, more affordable spaces within the city district. They mention one at Grobridge or Tour of 16, which seems to be a popular spot for creative industries and startups looking for a more intimate setting.
Grobridge Torv is fascinating because it offers a slightly different flavor of prestige. It's known for its charming cobblestone streets and historic buildings, but it's also a hub for art galleries, design studios, and independent boutiques.
So it's like a blend of old world charm and a more, contemporary creative energy. Do you think that attracts a particular type of business or entrepreneur?
Definitely. I'd imagine it appeals to businesses that want to be part of a community, where collaboration and creativity are valued. It might also be a good fit for companies that want to tap into Copenhagen's reputation for design and innovation.
So even within this high-stakes world of prime real estate, there are different niches and subcultures within the city district itself. It's not just a monolithic block of expensive offices.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so fascinating to explore. It's like a microcosm of Copenhagen's diverse business landscape, where history, innovation, and a touch of whimsy all come together.
Okay, so we've established that location plays a huge role in shaping a company's image and success in Copenhagen. But it's not just about being in this city district. It's also about finding the right neighborhood within that area that aligns with your business identity and goals.
Absolutely. And that raises an interesting question. What about businesses that can't afford these prime spots in the city district? Are they automatically at a disadvantage in Copenhagen's competitive market?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to delve into that because if location is everything in Copenhagen, that where do the, up-and-coming businesses, the freelancers, the startups with big dreams but limited budgets, where do they fit in?
Well, that's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Right.
We'll venture beyond the city district and see what alternative strategies businesses are using to thrive in Copenhagen's unique ecosystem.
So we've been talking about how a prestigious address can really be a game changer in Copenhagen's business world. But let's be realistic. Not every company can afford to, set up shop in those historic buildings in the city district.
True. But Copenhagen has a way of leveling the playing field even when it comes to real estate. Remember how we discussed the city's emphasis on accessibility and sustainability?
Hmm.
Well, that actually creates opportunities for businesses outside the prime zones.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about how those values play into this.
Think about it. Copenhagen is renowned for its incredible public transportation system and its dedication to being bike-friendly. That means even if your office isn't right in the heart of the city, you're still incredibly well connected.
So it's not like some cities where being outside the main business district leaves you stranded.
Exactly. And on top of that, there's a growing trend towards co-working spaces and more flexible office solutions that are popping up all over the city. And these offer a fantastic and more affordable way for businesses to access a professional environment and even tap into valuable networking opportunities, all without the commitment and the expense of a long-term lease in a prime location.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like a clever workaround. You get some of the perks of a prestigious address like the networking and a polished image, but without breaking the bank.
Precisely. And let's not forget the distinct personality of Copenhagen's different neighborhoods. Each area has its own unique vibe and draws in a specific type of business and talent pool.
You mean like how Grobridge or Torv seems to attract creative industries?
Exactly. Think about areas like Vesterbro and Nørrebro, known for their thriving arts and culture scenes. They might be a perfect fit for startups and businesses with a more independent, edgy spirit.
So instead of trying to compete head-to-head with the big players in the city district, these businesses can leverage their own strengths and build a strong brand identity by associating themselves with a specific neighborhood.
That's a great point. It's about being strategic, understanding your company culture, and finding the environment that best resonates with your target audience.
And that might mean choosing a location where you can actually afford to grow and experiment without being burdened by those sky-high rents.
Absolutely. It's important to remember that even those prime locations we talked about earlier weren't always considered the it spots. Neighborhoods evolve, trends change, and what's seen as prestigious today might be completely different in a few years.
So it's not just about where you are right now, but about being adaptable and recognizing the potential of up-and-coming areas. It's like having your finger on the pulse of the city's evolution.
Yeah, you got it. And let's face it, for some businesses, having a physical office might not even be necessary these days. The rise of remote work and digital technologies has opened up a whole new world of possibilities.
That's a really interesting thought. So theoretically, you could be based anywhere in the world and still tap into Copenhagen's business networks and opportunities.
It's becoming more and more feasible. Of course, remote work comes with its own set of challenges, like nurturing a strong team culture and ensuring effective communication across distances.
But I imagine it also opens doors to attract talent from a much wider pool, not limited by geography.
Precisely. And who knows, maybe in the future the most prestigious address won't be a physical location at all, but a powerful online presence and a thriving digital community.
Now that's a thought-provoking idea. So what does all this mean for someone like our listener who's interested in Copenhagen's business scene?
I think it paints a picture of Copenhagen as a diverse and dynamic landscape for businesses of all sizes and types. Whether you envision yourself in a historic building in the city center, or finding your niche in a vibrant up-and-coming neighborhood, or even building a completely remote team, there's a path for you in Copenhagen.
It's inspiring to see how a city can balance a respect for tradition with such a forward-thinking approach to business.
Absolutely. And I think that balance is reflected in how businesses in Copenhagen approach their location and brand identity. It's not about blindly following the crowd. It's about understanding your own strengths and needs and finding the best fit within the city's unique blend of history, innovation, and accessibility.
It makes you wonder, if we were to revisit this conversation in a few years, what would have changed? Would those prime locations still hold the same allure, or would new hotspots have emerged?
That's a fantastic question, and I think our listener is perfectly positioned to answer that. They're the ones engaging with Copenhagen's evolving business landscape firsthand.
That's a great point. Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's hear from our listener. What are your biggest takeaways from our conversation so far? Has it shifted your perception of Copenhagen's business scene, and what aspects are you most excited to explore further? We're eager to hear your thoughts. We've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into Copenhagen's office scene, from the historic grandeur of the city district to the vibrant energy of those up-and-coming neighborhoods.
Yeah, and it's been fascinating to hear our listeners' insights along the way. It's clear they're really starting to grasp what makes Copenhagen such a unique business hub.
Yeah, it feels like we've gone beyond just real estate and really gotten a glimpse into the soul of the city. What do you think when you think about Copenhagen's identity as a place that attracts and nurtures businesses?
what kind of overall picture emerges?
One word that keeps coming to mind is balance. Copenhagen seems to effortlessly blend this rich history and tradition with a truly forward-thinking approach to, you know, business and urban development.
Right? We see it in those beautiful historic buildings that house those modern, innovative companies. And,
Yeah.
we see it in the city's commitment to sustainability and accessibility, which is appealing to both companies and the talent they want to attract.
Exactly. It's like Copenhagen is saying, you can have it all here, a thriving business environment, a high quality of life, and a city that's constantly evolving and pushing boundaries.
It's a pretty compelling message, for sure.
Yeah.
What I find particularly interesting is how this sense of balance extends to the real estate landscape itself. We have these incredibly prestigious addresses in the city district, but at the same time, the city's infrastructure and the rise of co-working spaces make it possible for businesses of all sizes to thrive, regardless of their budget.
That's what makes Copenhagen so dynamic. It doesn't limit success to just one model. Whether a company chooses a historic office, a trendy co-working space, or even a completely virtual setup, the city provides a supportive ecosystem for growth.
So it seems that Copenhagen is all about, finding the right fit, embracing your unique identity as a company, and tapping into the city's collaborative and innovative spirit.
I think that's a fantastic takeaway from our deep dive. Copenhagen offers a multitude of paths to success, and it encourages businesses to be creative and adaptable in finding what works best for them.
This has been an incredibly insightful journey, and I'm feeling quite inspired by what we've discovered about Copenhagen. It's clearly a city that's doing things differently, and there's a lot we can all learn from its approach to business work culture and urban planning.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay.
And as always, the most rewarding part of these deep dives is hearing our listeners' perspective. So before we wrap things up, we'd love to hear your final thoughts. What's your vision for the future of Copenhagen's business landscape? What changes do you anticipate? What opportunities excite you? And what role do you see yourself playing in shaping this dynamic city? We're eager to hear your perspective and continue the conversation. Until next time.